Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, a fascinating matchup on Saturday afternoon. CJ Carr and Notre Dame going on the road and playing Arkansas. Now, Arkansas is the definition of a roller coaster. There are some highs and there are some lows, but the college football fans that follow this sport closely know when Arkansas is playing their best football, this is an extremely dangerous team. And Dill, a Notre Dame defense, they got a lot to figure out going into this game because you look at Arkansas and say, hey, they can hurt you in a lot of different ways. One of the best rushing attacks that you're going to see in the country, but also very explosive through the air. In Notre Dame's secondary, I think Notre Dame fans are very frustrated because you look at Notre Dame and say that offense, it's national championship caliber offense. I'll tell you this right off the bat, CJ Carr, that kid's a hit. He's absolutely spinning it. The defense, not nearly what we expected heading into 2025. Can Chris Ash fix it going into this matchup? Because you got to be on your P's and Q's when you're playing this Arkansas offense. A lot of different matchups to get into. Before we do, and as always, Arkansas fans, Notre Dame fans, y'all let it fly in the comment section. A lot of different takes that you can have on this football game. The amount of support for these game previews been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And Dill, without further ado, I think we got to start with this Arkansas offense that is averaging 7.3 yards per carry. That's number 2 in the country. They're averaging 9.6 yards per pass attempt. That's number 11 in the country. Going up against the Notre Dame defense that is struggling. Keys to this matchup going down Saturday afternoon here.
And I think the problem Notre Dame's going to have is they are really struggling to get any pressure on the quarterback.
That's the story, man.
I know people are getting after Chris Ash in the secondary and what's wrong with them. Like, they can't play the way they want to play. You think about what Notre Dame was able to do last year against most teams.
Yep.
That was a very aggressive press man, and they were getting home to the quarterback, and you can play that way if he can rush the passer, but they don't do it with their front four. And frankly, if you don't heat Taylen Green up, he's pretty dynamic back there. So that's kind of the thing.
Bill, how about this stat? You're mentioning Taylen Green when clean. When he is not under pressure, when the pass protection holds up, and Dill, Arkansas's offensive line,
great,
pretty damn good unit. 73% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, when Taylen Green's under pressure, a little bit different story. You see the turnovers start to creep in. He's only at a 30% completion percentage. How does Notre Dame get pressure on the quarterback? And I'm really happy you pointed that out because I go back and watch Notre Dame and say, yeah, okay, is the secondary a little bit banged up? Are they relying on some young players that maybe they're not super comfortable relying on this early? Yeah, that might be the case, but the bigger storyline is this pass rush is non-existent. Sacking the quarterback 2.7% of the time, that's 118th in the country. To me, the story is you got to use these backers. If you're Chris Ash, you have to know your personnel and say, hey, maybe we miss Howard Cross, Riley Mills a little bit more than we thought. And the pass rush production is getting a little bit hard to replace. Well, guess what? You got some weapons at the second level. There are not many backers in the country that get after the passer better than a guy like Kingston Viliamu. Dill needs more opportunities. If you're struggling to get pressure with your front four, you got to incorporate the linebackers. That, to me, seems like one of the bigger keys for Notre Dame in this football game.
And I really don't understand how they're not getting to it more because it's not just the defensive. Like, the defensive end play has been madly disappointing.
I agree.
Like, that was what I was expecting that unit to be able to pick up some of the slack.
Yes.
Like Bubakar coming back, Bryce Young, did he elevate and be that guy? Botello, Burnham, like, you have some guys on this team and you're getting nothing from them. And that's, to me, like, you also have, you have KVA for sure. Madden Framo is another guy who I think should probably be on the field a little bit because you need some guys who are going to make some plays. That's another issue with this Notre Dame defense, not creating enough negative plays. To me, you got to get a little more creative with your personnel groupings. You got to get these linebackers playing a little bit more and allow them to be more aggressive because I just don't think you're going to find what you need from this defensive line at this point, unless something changes over.
Yeah, and look, I'm not ready to completely sell my stock. Bubakar's coming off. They got a couple of guys that are coming off some significant injuries, and then Bryce Young's obviously only a year 2 guy. I'm not ready to say it's going to be bad all year, but you have to know right now it ain't good enough. And you can't just get away with rushing your front four, not impacting the quarterback, especially like you said, against a guy like Taylen Green that gonna make you pay.
And you can also like make Taylen Green, you lose your football game if you really get after him. He
Yes.
will give you
Yeah.
turnovers. He'll make those plays that cost you a football game.
Yeah.
To me, Notre Dame, and again, it's like, yeah, I think they have guys at the second level who can maybe make some of those plays. You got to unleash him a little bit because Chris Ash has been a little bit hesitant, it feels like, to really get aggressive with his linebackers.
100% agree. Right, you don't have to blitz. If you can get pressure with your front four, you don't have to blitz. But golly, if that's what the pass rush is going to look like, you got to incorporate these backers. And the thing is, like you said, they got them.
And frankly, I'm not like wildly scared of the wide receivers of this Arkansas team either. Like
I think that's fair.
You can get pressure. I'm not like worried too much about one-on-one matchups. Like I think this wide receiver core isn't the greatest in the history of the world. To me, I think you can play a little bit more aggressive, rely on your corners to be in one-on-one situations at times. You just got to be able to get home. And
no, the other, I mean, we're 5 minutes in, we're 6 minutes in, and we haven't talked about the Arkansas rushing attack. This is where I think your linebackers really matter, because this is a rushing attack that's dynamic, that can get after in a lot of different ways with a lot of different players, getting out to the perimeter. This is a matchup that I like for Notre Dame, because you got linebackers that can fly around the football field, run, chase, and tackle. I don't think Arkansas has seen these kind of linebackers yet in the season. Can Notre Dame deal with that rushing attack? That's another storyline. Dill, let's flip the sides here. Notre Dame's offense, I think, has been really, really good. And week one against Miami, they couldn't really get Jeremiah Love going. And I think that was kind of Notre Dame's fault, quite frankly. Jeremiah Love starting to get going a little bit. This offensive line starting to road grade a little bit. That's number one. Like, can you get the run game going? Because everything's built off the rushing attack. Number two, though, my biggest concern, and I think Notre Dame's going to score because I don't love this Arkansas defense. You have to hold up in pass protection, because there's not a ton to like in terms of how Arkansas's played defense. These edge rushers, a guy like Phil Lee and a guy like Quincy Rhodes, they can freaking rip. And we've seen these Notre Dame tackles, when they're going up against really good edge rushers, maybe struggle a little bit. Now, I'll say this and put my hand up.
You do want to be able to give CJ Carr the time to pick at this secondary, because they are struggling to communicate. They're struggling to cover guys. They don't make plays with the ball in the air. Those are all things right now Notre Dame's hurting everybody with. Like, they hurt Texas A&M with it. They're hurting Purdue with it. Like, they got after Miami at later point in that football game.
Well, here's the thing: is like you got to make sure you hold up. And I will say, maybe I overblew the pass protection struggles a little bit after that Miami game, because it turns out like Ruben Bain's just like playing at an ungodly level right now. It's gotten better since, but I still don't think it's perfect, specifically at the tackle position. Got to make sure you hold up. If you can run the football and avoid those second, third, and obvious passing situations, which I think Notre Dame can do, kind of not stymie. You can kind of slow down the pass rush, is probably the best way to put it. I think puts Notre Dame in a good spot to score.
And I think you should be able to hit big runs off it too, because that is one way. And Arkansas plays pretty aggressive with their front. Like, they're firing in the gaps. They gave up a couple of big runs to Memphis, gave up a few big ones to Ole Miss. That's, to me, another spot. And again, we've talked about it so much. When Notre Dame's running backs get a shot, they don't go for 10. They go for 60 to the house. So that's another thing. I do think there's going to be some big runs for this Notre Dame team.
Dill, explosive plays in general, it seems like a really big storyline, maybe more for this Notre Dame defense that has given up. Like, what killed Notre Dame against Texas A&M? It wasn't really the down-to-down performance as much as you can't give up the explosives that you gave up to Texas A&M. Well, guess what? Arkansas, it's kind of a similar story. Is this the most efficient and consistent offense? It ain't ever going to be like that when Taylen Green's a quarterback. He's just not the most consistent cat, but he is really explosive and can create game-changing plays. If you're Notre Dame on defense, you got to make sure you're not giving up the explosive. And if you can do that and make Arkansas execute 12 straight plays without taking negative plays and without turning the football over, you put yourself in a decent chance to limit Arkansas' scoring ability. Let's get into the pick here. The spread sitting at 4.5 points with Notre Dame on the road here. I will give you the T-box first. Where are you going?
I'm going to take the Hogs. And I know they're coming off a bad loss to Memphis. I've seen Arkansas come off a bad loss a time or two and then go shock a big dog, if you will.
Sure.
To me, I do really question Notre Dame's ability to like beat Arkansas the way that I think Arkansas is beatable, which again is getting after Taylen Green. I think this Arkansas offensive line really, really good. Probably the best unit that Sam Pittman's had in a couple of years now here. And with that, I'm looking at a secondary that I don't think can hold up if they don't get pressure on the quarterback. And until Chris Ash and this Notre Dame team tell me they have a way, at least something they can get to heat the quarterback up a little bit, I don't have a ton of faith in them being able to slow this Arkansas team down.
Yeah, I'm going to take Notre Dame, and it's for a couple of different reasons. One, I think Notre Dame's going to score, and I think they're going to score a lot. I think Notre Dame will be able to – maybe it's just me looking at this team on paper and say it shouldn't be this bad, and I think eventually it's going to get figured out. Like Marcus Freeman's still your head coach, and I know Chris Ash, and I know the Notre Dame fans are frustrated with Chris Ash, and I get it. Probably should be frustrated. I would be stunned if Notre Dame's defense continues to struggle the way it's struggling. Is it going to be perfect? No. I think Notre Dame can get to 40 points, and I would be surprised if Arkansas gets to 30. So I'll take Notre Dame to go on the road, win, cover.
You know, if you're going to give me a straight up game, I might take the over. And I know it's a high one, 64.5, the big point total. I think this is going to be up and down all game. I think both can get after the other in a ways that, again, like I think Notre Dame can hit big runs relatively routinely in this football game. I think Arkansas is going to be able to hit big passes. So that, to me, give me the over.
Yeah, I don't hate the over. I mean, both of these offenses are scoring and creating explosive plays. I just think this is a game where you need style points, and I think Notre Dame recognizes that, right? A 10-2, you're going to be on the bubble, and you already know it. And so when you have the opportunity to play an Arkansas team that, look, is Arkansas going to be a top 25 team when the season's over? I don't know, but I promise you, it's going to be a respectable win at the end of the day. If you can go on the road and win by 14, that's another game you can point to. Notre Dame needs to rack up these kind of games if they want to make the playoffs. I think you see Notre Dame come out, play their best football, take care of the cover. We'll see it because, again, this Arkansas team can get – and if Notre Dame doesn't fix anything on defense, hell, Arkansas might just win this football game. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.